Yippee-ki-yay movie lovers, I'm Jan, and in this video we'll be taking a deep dive into the third season of Stranger Things, the Easter eggs you might have missed and the crucial details from the ending and post-credits scene that set things up for season 4. Plus I'll explain exactly how the show tricked you about Hopper in the finale. I've got a Stranger Things giveaway on this video, so subscribe, hit the bell and let me know about what you thought of the new season for a chance to win. Obviously spoilers ahead, so take care if you're not all caught up. Unlike season 2, where 11 closed the gate and cut the mind flayer off from the Demodogs, this time Elle has lost her powers for the moment, so it's up to Joyce and Hopper to get to the gate and destroy the machine that's keeping it open. As they try to turn the machine off, Hopper is attacked by the Terminator-like Russian. Although Hop manages to push the goon into the spinning machine, time is running out to save the day, so he nods to Joyce, signalling that she has to shut the machine down herself, even though he's standing right next to it, which puts him in great danger. As the machine explodes, some nearby Russian scientists disintegrate, the gate closes, and the connection between the mind flayer behind the gate and its monster inside the mole is broken, killing the beast. Now, if you're upset that Hopper was killed in the explosion, there are plenty of clues to suggest that's not the case. First of all, after Joyce turned the keys to shut down the machine, the screen conveniently cut to black, suggesting at least a few seconds of time passed and that something happened off-screen. And as Joyce turns those keys, she looks down and away from the platform, presumably because she can't bear to see what she thinks will happen to Hopper. In reality though, it means that she wouldn't have seen Hopper leave the platform, because in the next shot, as we watch the spinning machine go out of control and explode, if you look really closely at the platform where Hopper was standing, you'll see there's nobody there anymore. So where did he go and why hasn't anyone heard from him? Well, there are a few possibilities, including one that the show hints at in the mid-credits scene at the end of the season. In this bonus scene, we discover that the Russians are feeding human prisoners to a DEMOGORGON, but more crucially, we find out that they've got an American prisoner in one of their cells. If Hopper got off the platform before the explosion and escaped into the nearby room that Joyce and Murray ran into later, it's quite possible that he bumped into a group of Russians who apprehended him and hauled him off to Russia. Another theory is that Hopper didn't have time to find a safe exit before the machine exploded and the gate closed. So rather than stick around and risk being fried, he jumped through the gate and is now stuck in the upside down.
3-inch minimum! Leave the door open 3 inches!
Perhaps that's what the show is hinting at when it shows Hop turn and look at the gate before it closes. And don't forget that Hopper has been in the upside down before to look for Will with Joyce. If he is now on the other side, there's no immediate way out for him unless he can find a breach back to our world, like Elle did at the start of season 2. A twist on this idea is that sometime after Hopper jumped over to the other dimension, the Russians figured out how to open up their own connection to the Upside Down at their base in Russia, and he emerges through there, which is how he's ended up in their cell. An alternative theory is the machine that the Russians developed has some similarities to a particle accelerator, and that when it blew up in Hawkins it caused a rift in time and space, sending Hopper backwards in time to the same location, for example a year ago, at which point he was captured by the Russians. The penultimate episode did have some heavy Back to the Future references, so perhaps that's what they were hinting at. The other big clue that Hopper survived is that the song Heroes plays while Elle is reading Hop's heart-to-heart letter. That same song played in the first season when Will Byers' dead body was discovered, and as we all know, Will's death proved to have been a fake, and he's still clearly alive. And remember, Hopper's adopted daughter Elle also seemed to die at the end of season 1, disintegrating as she took out the Demogorgon, so there's definitely hope for Hop. Now, although I'm convinced Hopper is still alive somewhere, there are some alternative possibilities for who the mysterious American is inside the Russian cell. Another character who's been heavily suggested to still be alive is Dr. Brenner, aka 11's papa. Although Brenner was mauled by the Demogorgon in season 1, when Elle and her sister Carly visited one of his ex-colleagues in the second season, he claimed that Brenner was still alive.
Brenner! I can take you to him.
Papa is gone.
No, he is alive.
If Ray knew where Brenner was, it's quite possible that the Russians tracked down the former director of the Hawkins lab to take him captive and help them open a gate to the Upside Down. Another possibility is that one of 11's siblings from the Rainbow Room is locked in the cell. But it's also possible that the unnamed American in the cell is an entirely new character being introduced for season 4. The other big revelation from the post-credits scene is that the Russians are now in control of a DEMOGORGON, which could mean a couple of things. They may have discovered the DEMOGORGON during their time in Hawkins, as we saw they had extra tall cages and electric cattle prods, which were presumably for containing the monsters. Or it might be proof that the Russians have now managed to open their own gate to the Upside Down in Russia, just as we saw them trying to do in the opening scene of Season 3. We can't discuss the finale of Season 3, of course, without discussing Billy and the Mind Flayer's new monster. After the Mind Flayer was driven out of Will's body in Season 2, the black particles weren't destroyed entirely, and Season 3 reveals that they ended up at the abandoned steelworks building outside Hawkins. When the Russians open up the gate to the Upside Down in their base below Starcourt Mall, those black particles are reactivated. In fact, Will's stranger sense, or Will Tingle, is triggered when he feels the monster's presence again after a swarm of nearby rats run past him and into the Brimborn Steelworks building. The Mind Flayer now begins to slowly build a new body for itself, starting with these rats which burst open and combine to form a new monster. The Mind Flayer then causes Billy to crash his car, using the opportunity to possess him and use him not only as a human spy in Hawkins, like the big bad did with Will in Season 2, but also to gather human victims.
I want you to build.
To build what?
What you see.
The possessed Billy starts with his lifeguard colleague Heather, and the pair then move on to her parents. By the 6th episode, Billy has amassed around 30 people who are now called the Flayed, as they act like normal people until the Mind Flayer activates them. At this point, they all converge to the Steelworks building, where they melt down into a mess of bones and flesh and join the body of the monster, which grows bigger with each new body it absorbs. And this is the meaning of the Latin title of the episode, a Pluribus Unum, which translates as out of many one, and fits with this season's 4th of July Independence Day setting, as that phrase is also the original motto of the United States. Before they join with the monster though, the flayed humans and rats will often consume toxic amounts of fertilizer and chemicals. It may be that the monster feeds off and grows bigger from these chemicals, but the consumption of these is also so that the human or animal body is physically weakened and will easily melt and break down, making this probably the grossest monster on the show so far. As the Mind Flayer's human spy for locating 11, Billy's kept alive until the finale, where he's able to pin down Elle in the mall after she loses her powers. Billy's about to offer 11 to the monster, but she helps him regain control of his mind when she connects with him and reminds him of his childhood with his mother. Billy's self-sacrifice as he stands up to the monster to stop it from getting to 11 gives him a nice redemption arc, and in this case, unlike with Hopper, we did see his dead body, so I don't think he'll be coming back to Hawkins, unless it's in flashbacks via 11 or his stepsister Max. Cover-ups of what's really been going on in Hawkins continue, with the general population still seemingly unaware of the secret Russian installation in the town, or the fact that it was the Mind Flayer's monster which was responsible for destroying the Starcourt Mall on the 4th of July. The cutting-edge expose that runs on TV 3 months later focuses blame for the mysterious goings-on and missing people on a corrupt mayor and local government, chemical leaks, and the program even suggests that Satanism may be at fault and links that to playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Some believe a rise in Satanism is to blame. To find out, tune in tonight at 8 p.m. for Horror in the Heartland,
which is incredibly something that some groups have complained about in reality. The TV documentary reminds me of how back in Season 2, Murray told Nancy and Jonathan that to reveal what had happened to Barb, they needed to water down their story to make it more palatable to the general public.
Perhaps Barbara was exposed to some dangerous toxins.
A leak from the lab, like 3 Mile Island or something.
Something scary but familiar.
Interestingly enough, Season 3's secret Russian invasion was partially predicted by Murray himself right at the beginning of Season 2.
I believe there was and may very well still be a Russian spy presence in Hawkins.
Russian spy!
I'm talking a full-on Russian invasion right here in Hawkins.
Murray might have been wrong about 11 being one of those Russians, but when Dr. Owens arrives at the end of Season 3 and discovers what's happened, he might be thinking back to this conversation he had with Nancy and Jonathan in Season 2.
But imagine for a moment if a foreign state, let's say the Soviets, if they heard about our mistake. Do you think they would even consider that a mistake? What if they tried to replicate that?
After all that's gone on, I wonder if Season 3 will also find Murray relocating, as he did say that Hopper and Joyce had compromised his secure hideaway. Since the end of season 2, when the Mind Flayer was shown watching over Hawkins' school as the ultra creepy song Every Breath You Take played, it's been hinted that the shadowy monster has had his eye on 11. And indeed, she did turn out to be his ultimate target this season, presumably in revenge for her closing the gate in season 2 and foiling the Demogorgon in season 1. And also because it sees her as the main threat to its larger plan for domination of our world. After the monster bit 11 and infected her leg, it seems the Mind Flayer may have at least temporarily weakened Elle, depowering her for the final episode. This worked as a convenient plot device to avoid a repeat of the season 2 finale, where 11 did all the work of closing the gate. But it also means that Elle can't search for Hopper to confirm if he's really gone or not. Mike is confident that 11's powers will return, and I expect this will be an important part of her arc in season 4. The season ends with Joyce, Will and Jonathan moving away from Hawkins, taking 11 with them. This splits up the gang, however Mike mentions meeting up around Thanksgiving and Christmas. I suspect that rather than season 4 taking place during the 1985 winter holidays, it'll be set around a year and a half after the events of season 3, putting it towards the end of 1986, which will roughly keep it in line with how the young actors are growing up off screen. And I wonder if Dustin will try and invite his girlfriend Susie over for another rendition of the never-ending story, or if she could even travel from Utah to join them on their next adventure. Oh, and assuming Hopper does return next season, I wonder if he'll be rocking his full-on Tom Selleck as Magnum PI look again.
That's a lot of color for you, Chief.
It's cutting edge!
After all, I think Hop's love of Magnum isn't just about what he calls the character's cutting-edge look, but also about the fact that they're both veterans of Vietnam. One thing missing from season 3 was any continuing story about Carly, who Elle met last season. But if Dr. Brenner does come back into play next season, we could see Carly or the other gifted children from Hawkins' lab reappear. You can learn more about them and the dark history of Brenner's MK Ultra experiments in my Stranger Things Gifted Children video. Tap the link here or check the link in the video description. Now, what are your opinions and theories about season 3, and how do you think Hopper survived the explosion? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to enter my Stranger Things giveaway. Next, tap left for that Stranger Things theory video, or tap right for another video you're sure to like. And if you enjoyed this, a like, share and subscribe are hugely appreciated. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!